Convention, UBC Convention 2020. 7.1 UBC Convention 2020. Thank you. So I will pass this over to our CAO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the 2020 UBCM Convention will be going ahead in a virtual format between September 22nd and 24th this year. Opportunities to meet with the ministers and ministry staff will occur via conference call during the week before the convention. Monday, September 14th to Friday, September 18th will be the meeting opportunities with the Premier and Cabinet Ministers. The provincial staff meetings will take place between Tuesday, September 15th and Thursday, September 17th. Once Council have determined the issues that need to be addressed on behalf of the District of Summerland, staff will forward the meeting request to UBCM for either ministry or staff meetings. Staff have prepared a report that outlines a number of issues that Council looking for some direction from Council before moving these into the meeting requests. They've been identified based on historical issues at UBCM and current community priorities based under Council's strategic plan. The first meeting request is with regards to the Summerland Recreation and Health Centre, and this is a joint meeting request between the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and Ministry of Childcare and Family Care, and follows on from the meeting that was held in 2019, updating the Ministry on the status of that the project. The intent of this meeting would be to provide an update to the ministries for this collaborative approach for Summerland, and which is intended to fulfil a number of needs in our community and to request ongoing support for this initiative. The second meeting request is to meet with the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, and Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and that's with regards to financing strategic infrastructure to support the protection of agricultural lands in Summerland. In order to continue protecting our agricultural lands, the district is seeking support from these ministries for increasing revenue sources to invest in existing infrastructure that would support sustainable growth of the community in addition to protection of our agricultural lands. Third meeting request would be with the Ministry of Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations, and that's with regards to the perpetual slide, an issue that's been ongoing in the community for a number of years. The intent of this meeting would be to update the Ministry on the status of this issue in the community and ask for funding solutions to assist with reducing the impact to Trout Creek's ecosystem and First Nations values along that area. The Giants Head Road is a project that has come forward to the UBCM in the past as well. The intention is to follow up with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to request that a funding program for these types of projects be created, and that at the appropriate time, Ministry give favourable consideration to the district's grant application. So we'll be providing an update to the Ministry on that project. We also have the Flume project, another meeting with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, again to update them on the status of our project. We've got a grant application currently in, but just to make sure that that is highlighted in their mind as we move that project forward. Isentok Dam is another key infrastructure project for the district. The intention is to meet with the Ministry of Infrastructure, Transportation and Infrastructure to request that grant funding programs related to municipally owned dams be created to support the costs of replacing these assets in the community. And then finally, the South Okanagan Food Hub. The intent here is to provide an update to the ministry staff within the Ministry of Agriculture, giving them an update on the status of our business plan that's been created and getting an update on the timing of future Ministry of Agricultural funding program for this project. And we're looking for some direction from Council on these initiatives and any others prior to the deadlines to get the submissions in to the province. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Anthony. I think before we talk about any of the ones that are in front of us now, I'll just open it for anyone that wants to bring forward another idea that they might have. Councillor Holmes, you were speaking about one last week. Feel free to bring that forward.
Yeah, well, I think we should have a conversation with the District of Peachland to see if they'd be interested in doing some sort of joint thing, because it's been out there for a while there. I'm talking about, what am I talking about?
The comprehensive watershed assessment.
Watershed
yes.
assessment.
Yes. just, when you brought up, joining forces and having a larger voice, I would also like consideration for having some kind of representation from the Seal people, Okanagan Nation Alliance, because that's their shared watershed as well, and that brings another group to the table in terms of a cooperative project. Just a thought. Councillor Carlson, do you have your hand up? Oh, okay. Councillor Barkle.
Yeah, that's a good idea, bringing the neighbors to the south to the call as well. But I'm wondering what exactly the expectations for this watershed assessment are. Is it just the dangers that is posed to our water supply, or the capacity of the water supply, or what elements are going to be examined in this assessment?
My understanding is that this is, and Councillor Holmes, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is more a cumulative study on the various aspects of activities that are happening in the watershed. So it's not just particularly grazing or recreation or forestry. It's kind of the impact of all of those things accumulating one on the other. And I think, based on what we heard from Chris Johnson when we were talking about the last mining application, the flow metals or something like that, that he has a pretty good understanding of what a comprehensive watershed assessment plan is, because he was kind of voting in favor of that, or suggesting that that was be part of his recommendation. So I think that, unless you're able to answer those questions, Anthony, it'd be nice to hear from Chris if you can't.
Yeah, for sure. I think if there's direction from council to look at this issue, we can bring back a draft briefing note for council on the July 27th meeting. I can certainly have Chris here. I think the intention is to definitely look at all the potential impacts, mining, forestry, a whole variety of different issues in the watershed that could be occurring, or a lot of activities. So we'd certainly look at the potential of partnership with the District of Peachland as well, and if there's direction from council, we'll start those conversations today.
Great. Councillor Carlson, and then Councillor Holmes.
Just to make it clear then, the intent of the UBCM meeting would be to ask for funding so that we can hire some funds to begin that wouldn't be to, I assume we're not asking the District of Peachland to pay for it, the province will pay for it? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, if you ask me, I think the province should do it. I think the province should be responsible for doing it, but
So we would go saying, hey, we want this done.
do it.
Okay, then we don't have to be the ones that
Yeah.
take that extra work on it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Then
I don't think we have the
No.
capability.
just wanna make sure I understand what it would be that if we do go and ask for those funds.
Possibly getting stuff. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I just think the principle, rather than, these individual, mining, exploration projects, or, forestry, those things come to us and we say, well, how can we talk about this if we don't talk about forestry? And then some forestry comes to us and, comes to us and we say, well, how can we talk about forestry if we're not talking about, grazing or something, and then, they're all connected, and it's all our watershed, and so, you need to know how it's all, they all affect each other, impacting, basically what we drink, so.
Great. Thank you, Councillor
And
Holmes.
it's not unique.
No.
It's done everywhere, throughout the province. All the water that Vancouver drinks has had one of these assessments.
Assessments done. Anything else, Councillor Van Elfen?
No, I think it's a good idea. I mean, it's probably long overdue. But there's also found out, over the last bunch of years we've had with the, potential climate change, forest fires, and these major weather occurrences that we've had, they're starting to look at different ways of
to do with management. So, any more comments on this proposed, hopefully we get this ministerial meeting, or anyone else, any other thoughts? Okay, any discussion on any of the items that Anthony has briefly brought forward? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I just think for the financing strategic infrastructure, I think we really need to be organized on that one, because this is the others aren't really new, but this one is, and so I think we need to be well prepared, and I think we need to do some research on comparing ourselves with other district municipalities, comparing how much agricultural land we have, how many miles of roads we have compared to other district municipalities, so that we can actually show them, say, look, Summerland's pretty unique here. We've got our backs up against the wall because we're so different. And I think we also need to be clear in what our ask is in that respect as well.
On that particular one, I think that District of Lake Country is in exactly the same position we are in terms of agricultural land versus, commercial or developable. Yeah, they probably are. Councillor Traynor and then Councillor Barco.
I think this is a good list, and I like Councilor Holmes' addition as well. I mean, from what I recall last year, we usually put in a list of requests, and then we don't always get them all. So I think it's good to put in all of these, which except for the agricultural one we were just talking about, I think we've talked about all of these before, right? At other museums, most of them. So we should have briefing notes from previous ones that might just need to be tweaked. But it looks like a good list to me.
Councillor Barco.
Yeah, I'd like to sort of emphasize what Councillor Holmes said in being clear on what the ask is, particularly for the health center. To keep them informed is good, and but if we could be specific in our ask, like maybe having them assign a specific liaison person or something. I've been in one of these before where the minister or maybe it was with the premier sort of said, well, what are you asking for? And that wasn't really the best way to take advantage of the situation. And then as far as the agricultural lands one, I also agree that the stats that you've got there are startling already, and I'm sure there's a few more that you could throw in. And also I'd like to see the words about how this is a provincial priority, and unfairly burdening this provincial priority with a small taxpayer base in Summerland. Very significant cost to the taxpayers of Summerland for what the rest of the province wants to have. Not that we don't agree it isn't a priority, but it's still not fair that we should be paying for it.
Not sure if I completely agree with what you just said, because although it impacts the taxpayers also benefit from living in Summerland, and the economic driver that agribusiness and agritourism and agriculture brings to our town. I mean, this is how our town was built. So I'm not really sure that the word fair is something that we should use, because there are benefits for us. I'm not saying that this is not a great idea, but I'm not really sure about the word fair in terms of when we're talking about everybody else has this and we don't.
Well, I guess obviously I disagree. I think that preserving agriculture
I guess just back that up, I think if you look at, say, a community like Oliver, which also benefits from all the surrounding agriculture, it benefits the local economy, but they don't really have, because their boundaries, their municipal boundaries are quite tight around the town, and all the agricultural land is in the RDUS. They don't actually have that burden of supporting those surrounding agricultural common roads and everything like that. So I think that's the idea. I don't think anybody's disagreeing with the value of the economic impact agriculture has on the town, but just the way we're set up here put us as at a bit of a disadvantage compared to similar other agricultural communities.
Councillor Barkle?
So in Oliver, like in the RDUS, where's the money for the, road maintenance and stuff? Yeah, so it's provincial is paying for the maintenance and all those costs for all the other rural
For
areas.
RDOS, yeah.
We could restrict our boundaries.
Okay, Councillor Van Elfen?
Madam Mayor, and there's part of the argument. Ministry of Transportation is paying theirs, and the taxpayers of Summerland are paying ours for our rural area. So I mean, there's part of the argument right there.
Yep.
I think we need those comparisons to the best of our abilities, but that's something that we need to look at. All of the benefits, somebody else is paying for.
Anything else on any of these? Okay, could someone bring forward the motion, please?
As written, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Patton. Any further discussion? Councillor Holmes.
Well, yeah, just maybe a friendly amendment if we wanted to add the watershed assessment as well on those.
Yes, a friendly amendment to add the watershed assessment.
I think Karen has that. Yes. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carries. On to 7.2, open and electronic meetings, Ministerial Order 192. Over to Karen.
Thank you, Moderator and Council. So this particular meeting request or report is just to highlight the Ministerial Order 192. So on June 22nd, 2020, we did have a look at that order and how it repealed some of those earlier restrictions that the district and other municipalities had, as far as no longer being able to adopt bylaws in one meeting, for instance. The holding of electronic meetings is still permitted under the provincial health orders. However, they've also said that municipalities must make best efforts to try and allow public to be at their regular meetings of council, so their open meetings of council. So what staff have looked at here and are recommending is that based on District Hall not being open fully, only open from 9 to 12 Monday to Friday, we have a safety program in place that's required for all businesses, and that limits numbers of people in a room based on the physical distancing requirements, sanitation requirements. Chamber itself, just the layout of chamber is, it has, I guess there's 11 of us in here right now. So the idea being that if we were to open the doors to members of the public, it would be a very limited number of public. So staff is feeling that if council wishes, for the next 2 months while we see how things play out with the province and the pandemic, that we continue to do the electronic platform that we've introduced over the last couple months, which still allows the public to participate electronically, and that we will still continue to live stream the meetings and have those call-in opportunities. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Questions for Karen? second it. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carries. Okay, and on to our final item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this item has been put on the agenda for any items that council wishes to speak of, and also an update on the meeting.
Yeah, good. That's where I was getting to. I wasn't sure if that was part of another discussion that I was not here for or what. So thank you.
Yes.
Do you want to start with that then? Yeah?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you, Cielo.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So just a quick update for council and the community. We're fortunate to have a movie shoot taking place within the district over the next couple of weeks. The Christmas Yule Blog is a TV movie production which we'll be filming within the district of Summerland. The preparation is already begun. A lot of conversations have been had between the film company and downtown businesses. The preparation will start this week, July 22nd. Our production trucks will be rolling into the middle school parking lot this week. Filming runs from Monday to Friday, July 27th to 31st. The July 31st session will be an evening's movie shoot beginning at 5 p.m. Really to limit the impact on the business community in the downtown. Filming will be on Main Street, Victoria Street, the Baptist Church, Kettle Valley train station, and a number of other private properties throughout the district. All the various paperwork around COVID and safety plans are in place, and they've been working with our recreation manager to put all the protocols and make sure that everything is dealt with in place. They've coordinated with our Public Works department to ensure that we have the Christmas decorations up for the evening. It's a Christmas movie, obviously, and in the middle of summer, they'll be bringing a large Christmas tree, from what we understand, in addition to putting the Christmas decorations up. So keep an eye out for that. They'll obviously have strict protocols around access and participation, but we look forward to downtown Summerland being part of some Christmas filming and movies over the next little while. So just a heads up to the council and the community, and look forward to more of this happening in the community over the next little while. There's been an increase certainly in the whole South Okanagan over the last couple of years, and we certainly expect that to continue and take advantage of all of the fantastic things that Summerland has to offer. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, and then Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that we heard at the RDOS last week how busy filming is in the Okanagan from the Okanagan Film Commission, and a lot of that is down to COVID, and filmmakers just feel a lot safer filming here than they do in the States. So it's been a summer like no other in the Okanagan in terms of films throughout the region. And we know, and so it's not surprising that we're having here. It's great. So looking forward to it.
For several days is fantastic. Councillor Van Alphen.
So generally, my summer attire on the farm is a pair of rubber boots and shorts. So I guess now with this filming, I'll have to wear a parka and a toque down here.
Anyone else? Councillor Barkle.
So who's this film for? Where would we see it when it's done?
It's a Hallmark film.
Hallmark film.
Is that a channel?
It's a
TV or
it's a
Netflix or?
a Lifetime family TV movie, and the intention is for the movie to be around a scene, holidays in New Mexico, which is why there won't be any snow in this Christmas film, but taking advantage of the local climate. So, but I'm sure once we find out around when the movie will be available, we'll make sure
you don't have to wear your parka and toque. Any other questions on that? Okay, so I'm going to turn the leading of this next item on our agenda for discussion over to Councillor Van Elfen. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe it was last Tuesday, 8 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call from Rachel Lecky, and quite distraught. His home, their home, the family home was that's where I'm at with this. Like, I'm still in touch with the family on a daily basis. I'm sure Councillor Carlson is too. You know, I talked to Vishal and I talked to Abby this morning. They're still hanging around, you know, trying to reassure Mom, you know, and showing her how to work the security system to some degree, you know, but, you know, there's a lot of fear in the family right now. There's a lot of fear with the siblings because they all got to go back to Vancouver to work, and you know, so they're worried about Mom. And so, anyways, that's where I'm at with this, Madam Mayor, and I'm looking for suggestions too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Van Outen. Did you want to?
I'm not sure how much I have to add. That was very well brought forward. I think that the family chose to take this to the media. They chose to make this something that everyone could be aware of, and I understand that it made a front page in the Indian newspaper as well. This family, young family that lived in Canada in 1990, they lived in Summerland. So I mean, it's there as well, and I think that that's important to recognize. Regardless of this happening or not, we have an obligation to talk about racism and privilege, all things that we sit at this table and don't get a chance to talk about very often. So I do think that somehow we need to have that conversation in our community. And I think we'll be really grateful if we do.
Other comments? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, first I want to say I think it's how the family decided to respond to it with this GoFundMe campaign is fantastic. And if we could maybe work with the Arts Council to identify a professional artist who would consult with the Luckies to create something really special that the community can proud of, I think that would be a great thing that we can all feel good about. I just like to say, and I pulled out these when we did the cultural planning, the cultural task force 5 years ago now, I guess. We had these community conversations, 13 community conversations we called them. They were based on the World Cafe model, and I know many of us in this room attended at least some of those things. And we did have one on multiculturalism, and I just pulled this out from my records. So one of the questions we asked that group was, how could Summerland best celebrate, support, and include your cultural group or multiculturalism in general? And I'll just read a few of the comments that were said at the time. Food is a way to relate to each other and try something new. International folk dancing, lively festivals, singing, multicultural floats in Action Parade Festival, a community kitchen, Philosopher's Cafe on multiculturalism, multicultural festival day with food, music, dancing, singing. Create a cultural map that is on display centrally that shows where all Summerlanders come from, and new people could be added as they come. Potluck dinners, international picnic, bring back the taste of Summerland. Festivals that people have in their home countries, recreate them here. Integrate Light Up with Diwali, because since they both happen at the same time. So there's kind of a general theme there, as you know, regarding food and festivals. And and what came out of that in the actual cultural plan was there was a strategic direction in the plan called Connect the Community, and that talked about physical connections like bike paths and public transit signage and stuff, but it was also, more importantly, social and cultural connections. And there's a specific action item on page 23 of the plan that said, recognize Summerland's multicultural diversity in community events. And I think that's, maybe we haven't done that well enough. And when we look at all our festivals I just wanted to read one other thing from that community conversation. It was a quote from one of a senior from the Indo-Canadian community who attended, and he said, I've lived here 26 years, and I have never heard this question about multiculturalism discussed in Summerland. There has never been any sort of mandate for multiculturalism. You see people of different cultures, so you know they're allowed to live here. But it took 26 years, and now I saw that question was being raised, so that's why I came to this workshop. So that was 5 years ago. I think we should, and we addressed it, kind of addressed it then when it wasn't a crisis, and we put a plan together, and so I think let's dust off that cultural plan and do some of these things.
Thank you. I just want to respond with a couple of things. I think that there, at least last year, and I know that that's 4 years out, last year at Festival of Lights there was, I think it was called World Stage, so there was some opportunity there, and I think that that's really good move forward. I have to say though, and I know this is very difficult, but at the same time, there is a difference between celebrating the cultures that we have here and talking about racism against those cultures. And I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Van Elfen, I think that that is what Councillor Van Elfen, I mean, I'm not suggesting that we dismiss this at all. I'm really glad that you brought this forward and reminded us. I mean, we've all read that so many times, but it's good to be reminded. But I think that the discussions that we have to have as a community go well beyond celebrating multiculturalism. And personally, I don't like that word, but celebrating diversity, let's say that. But the difficult conversation is around the racism, and I think that's what we need to, I don't want that to be pushed aside, because it has been pushed aside forever. Not just in this community, but in all communities. And I was just speaking to Abby this morning and saying, just checking in with him, and he says he feels 1,000,000 times better than he did on Monday night, and thanking all of council for bringing this forward and talking about it here today, and the show of love from the community generally. And I thanked him again. I mean, Councillor Carlson, you brought it up. They took this to the media. That was not an easy thing to do. They asked me first if they could do it. They asked the RCMP. They didn't have to ask for that. But this is just, it just shows how, I guess, connected and respectful that family is in Summerland. And bringing it out and going through the uncomfortableness and the pain and the fear of speaking out publicly like that, that really is, I agree with you, Councillor Van Elfen and Councillor Carlson, and I'm sure everybody feels this way too. This is something that we can grab a hold of as leaders, and although this is a horrible incident, it has created, just like the pandemic, it's a horrible thing how it has impacted so many areas of our lives, but there's a silver lining here, and that is that this has, someone described it to me the other day, it's like the rug has been pulled away and you can see all of the, muck underneath. Let's not just cover it up again. Let's talk about this even though it's going to be difficult. That's the way I feel. Councillor Traynor.
I think that having something in Summerland, whether it's a mural or some kind of, written words or something somewhere that's very visual, that says that we don't stand for racism in our community. Like, it kind of reminds me, and I'm not comparing the two, it just reminds me of when we painted the rainbow crosswalks. A lot of people in our community said we don't need those, and I said yes, we do, because if you just looked up any of the layers, there was a lot of really, really negative feelings towards people in that community, and to me, those rainbow crosswalks represent, they're a symbol. They say that we're an inclusive community, and I think that they were needed. There are a lot of people that I talked to since then now say, yeah, I'm glad that they're there because we did need them. And so I think that this is the same kind of idea where we need something that, like, multicultural celebrations are great, and I think we need to have those, but I think we need to have something that's really bold, that says when you're in our community, here's our values, here's what we won't tolerate, or something along the lines of that, and be really bold in what we need, and not tiptoeing around the issue, and saying that we're a community that welcomes everyone, and we treat everyone with respect, and we won't put up or we won't stand for any kind of discrimination or racism. So maybe that mural could be, or whatever we do, could be something along the lines that's very bold and says what we mean.
Councillor Van Alphen.
Yeah, I appreciate Councillor Holmes bringing that back on the table again and reminding us of that. I think, and the suggestion that, Lexi family work with the Arts Council, to come up with something, spectacular for our community, like, a mural and or whatever that might look like, I don't know. Just at this time, also, it is at 17.5, so I'd just like to remind QP and IBEW and excluded staff, there's still room to contribute. Just kidding, but just try to sell it up a bit. And also, like, it's gonna take us some time. It's gonna take a bit of time, Arts Council, to work on something. But in the meantime, we've got the highway signs, our reader boards that, have 4 messages that repeat daily. Maybe we could start there. Something along the lines of some phrases on there that we are an inclusive community. You're welcome here. Come to Summerland and feel safe. It's just things like that. We can start small and work up to it. I'm grateful the boys, there's a family story in Chevali. The boys in Chevali brought this forward and brought, got the media involved because that's who they are. They're Summerland residents that didn't deserve this. Thanks.
I think I was talking to you, Councillor Van Alphen, about when you were talking about changing the reader boards, and I think it was you, and we were talking about maybe it didn't happen this year, but maybe next year the theme of the banner program, and I know that's not our decision, but I'm happy as the council liaison to bring that forward to the Arts Council. Maybe that could be part of the theme for next year is the inclusivity. Was it you that I was talking to about that? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's a great idea. Just a suggestion to the Arts Council would be a nice thing to see in the banner program. Yeah, I don't
That's what I do too.
You know, and she just beams. She's so, you know, and it's just such a, you know, that's what it's about, you know, and I see people happy and welcomed in our community. I don't know. I think Summerland's a great place. That's why I live here. I wouldn't live anywhere else, but, you know, I don't want to sweep this, like you said, under the rug and pretend it doesn't happen, because it does happen. And, I don't know if I've been guilty of it in the past, maybe, but I'm learning, and I'm willing to learn. You know, and I think that's what we all have to strive for.
Thank you, Councillor Beno. And Councillor Holmes.
I think you touched on it, Councillor Nelson, willing to learn and education. When we brought the Syrian refugees here the very first time in 2016, I got a number of phone calls at the time of people saying, how could you be doing this? You know, you're letting terrorists you just never know with those kind of people, all that kind of stuff. And you know, all you could do is try to explain that they're not terrorists, they're victims of terror, and you explain the security process, and not thinking you're actually going to change their minds, but I think you have to do those kind of explanations to people, and the last time we brought refugees in, I didn't get any of those calls, and maybe it's because they didn't consider Eritrea a problem country, or they didn't know where it was on the map or something. But I think mainly it's the vast majority of people, when refugees do arrive here, people in this community are incredibly welcoming of them. They you know, they're always stopped in the street and saying welcome to Canada, and I think the group is so large now that there's always somebody in the community who knows somebody who's part of the group, and it's kind of a groundswell. So people who have those kind of attitudes don't dare speak up, and in a way I kind of see the same situation maybe happening now, that it takes something to happen for the community to rally around, to make those people which is a very small minority, to make those people think a little bit and keep their thoughts to themselves if they're not able to see things differently. So, you know, hopefully there's something good will come out of this.
Councillor Barkle.
Yeah, I mean, we're all very shocked and surprised to see this happen in Summerland, but I also heard on the radio this week or last week, that there was 160 complaints to the RCMP in Surrey over hate crimes in the last year. So it's out there. It just hasn't been here in Summerland before. I don't know who these individuals are. That makes me wonder, like, who are these? I was going to say guys, but that's an assumption, I guess. I don't know who they are. And what motivates them, and how did they get to the place they are that they would do something like this? I don't know. Yeah, it's just I guess it's surprising to us here in Summerland. Maybe not so surprising in Surrey. Bigger community, more things going on. I was wondering, Madam Mayor, you were being interviewed, I presume, about this morning?
I was being interviewed about something different this morning,
Oh.
but certainly has come about as, you know, a week after, and adds to the whole discussion somewhat. And now that Councillor Traynor, I know she had her hand up because I've got her name down here, but now she's taken a quick reprieve. I just want to address a couple of things that you just said. Not all of us around the council table are shocked by what happened. surprised.
Mhm.
It's just that this was a very overt incident of vandalism, but also hate. And like you said, the hate crimes team is investigating. They're taking it seriously, as they should, in my opinion. And I have no idea who the individual or individuals are. But having grown up here, I continue to say this isn't a racist town, but there is an underlying element of racism in this town, and I've been subjected to it over and over and over again. I have received, and Sergeant Preston has them now. I just have received since, well, yesterday and today, and Anthony says that more has come in. Some pretty strong emails against me, not particularly nice language and threats and, you know, all of that. So, it continues. Some people are concealing themselves with kind of weird email addresses, and some people are members of our community that have shown that maybe they would benefit from some from community discussions, but you can't make anyone. They have to be willing to come forward. And lots of people have said to me, this is a time I want to learn more about this. So what is it that we as community leaders, how can we open up the space so that people can talk about this?
When I think about what you've gone through in the elections, I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, Thank you, Councillor Barkle. Councillor Van Elfen.
Well, it's like what I shared with you the other day, Madam Mayor, is I don't have all the answers, and I don't know. My parents were immigrants to Canada. They went through their struggles too. That's why you see in a lot of communities, in a lot of provinces, that you'll have huge communities of Hungarian people, huge communities of Dutch people, huge communities of Polish people, because they came and we stuck together because they felt safe and they could share their language and without being ridiculed or what have you. So you see that all through Canada, and my parents were one of those. And again, it's education, because I don't know. I went to Atlanta, Georgia 5 years ago, and that was right in the heat of the rebel flag controversy. And I get into Atlanta, Georgia, and the first thing I see is some guy look like Colonel Sanders jogging down the street with a rebel flag. That's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't know. I'm from Canada, so I don't know a whole lot about it. So I'm sitting in a restaurant one night with my wife. Lovely African American university student was waiting at our table, and we finished our meal, and she was absolutely just a lovely young lady, and we were talking, and I said, I don't know how to ask this question. I'm from Canada. Can you explain this whole rebel flag controversy to me? And she looked at me and she says, if you fly to Swastika in Germany, you go to jail. She says, and that's my feeling.
just brought up a really good thought, and it might help a little bit answer the question that Councillor Bark will ask, like, where does this come from? It just explodes, you know, all of a sudden, this kind of random act. I think you said exactly where it comes from. It's, you know, kids aren't born racist. They learn it. And they learn it most through their upbringing, through their families. So, you know, it's a perpetuating cycle. Councillor Traynor.
I think we need to be really aware, like we all know, a lot of this, I think a lot of the mentality right now is coming out of the United States and everything that is going on down there. It's just like awful, some of the stuff. And I feel like it's starting to come into Canada, and so, but the good thing is that at the local level, we do have control here. We can't control what goes on in the States, but I think that we can, as leaders, you know, set the tone for what we want in our own communities, like here. And so I think that, you know, taking some kind of bold action that says that we are anti-racist, that we won't tolerate it, that if you're sitting around this summer at a fire or whatever on the beach, and one of your friends starts saying something, you need to stop them in their tracks and say, like, we can't have this discussion, this is not what we do here. And like that's where it starts. It starts with like the dinner table parties when somebody decides to say something and say like, no, I'm not gonna listen, I'm not gonna be part of it. And that's where it makes a difference. And with your friends, and because people say things sometimes and they don't even realize that they're saying it, or you know, it's ingrained in the way they think, and so we need to like put a stop at it at this level. And like I said, I'm not exactly sure what we can do or how we can do it, but I think that we need to be very bold. It's not enough anymore for like even though the majority of us celebrate multiculturalism and are welcoming to refugees, there's obviously some people that aren't welcoming, and that's what we have to try to, you know, fix, or you know, say that we won't stand for that.
Councillor Bennell.
And to add to that, I think social media has made some people very brave with what they think they can say, because 9 out of 10 times I'm sure they wouldn't say it to your face, but all of a sudden behind, you know, social media they've become very brave, and some of the things that are said on social media are absolutely appalling. You know, am I guilty? You know, should I respond and say, you know, say something? Maybe I guess I should, but you know, it just seems like on this social media stuff, it just keeps rolling and rolling, and it's just ridiculous. But yeah, I wish there was some laws around that type of stuff, what people can and cannot say on social media, because a lot of that is pretty harmful also, you know, and derogatory and racist.
I just want to share an email that I got this morning. When you're, I just thought of this when you, Councillor Traynor, was saying, I'm really not sure what we can do, but you think that something needs to be done, and that you know, we need to make a bold statement. This came from Tanya Osborne, who is Population Health for Interior Health, and I think it's really, it really says a lot. Through the personal stuff. Tackling racism is not an easy feat. You are having some tough conversation. Okay, never mind that. Racism should not be a political matter. It is a social matter, and one that has a huge impact on health. And the title of her email is Racism is a Social Determinant of Health. If we as Interior Health can be of any support, please don't hesitate to reach out. So that may be a possibility. If you know, a council agrees to move this forward and to direct staff, obviously there'll be resources required, as like financial resources as well. This may be somebody that would have good understanding of who might be able to help the community as we have these conversations. Because, I don't know of anyone personally, but maybe this is something that Interior Health can help us with. Councillor Van Elfen?
Just on another thought also, I know for the family with the RCMP, they haven't heard yet as of this morning, but the RCMP is Victim Services,
Yes.
so they're trying to find, I think, someone in Victim Services that speaks Punjabi to help Corinne, the mom, try to figure things out with that stuff. But when something like this, if I think we were talking about earlier, I've seen in other places, like in a school district, for example, if something tragic happens in the school district, they bring in grief counselors. I mean, there was people that were walking up the Lecky driveway shaking and in tears because it brought back something that happened in their lives. I don't know. Like, I'm just throwing it out there. When stuff like, if something like this happens, should we be more prepared in some way? Should we be offering, support to people that we think they may need it? Like you say, like the Leckys were shocked, because there was people and ethnic people, and not just Indian, other people that were walking up the driveway and they were just literally shaking, going like, as soon as they saw it, they were in tears because it brought back things that happened in their lives as immigrants. So I don't know, do we, I'm not saying that we're doing a bad job, just can we do better something? That's all I'm asking. Because you do see in other areas, again, I'm just using the school district for example. If something happens, they'll bring in a team of workers to help people negotiate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor
Yeah,
Carlson?
just to follow up on your question of who would we want to have help have this conversation, maybe as a facilitator or something. I think that there are places we could reach out to. The library world, I think the British Columbia library system has a lot of resources and likely have the answer to that question. I also think that maybe it's not one person, maybe it's a diverse group of people, but it certainly
love the idea, but I'm not sure that we as a community are in a position at this point to say that we are anti-racist here, because those of us who have had racism perpetuated against us don't necessarily feel that. I mean, overall, we're not a racist community, but that statement is quite a bit different, saying that we are anti-racist here. I don't think that is I don't think this community can truthfully state that right now.
So basically, it just needs to be some wordsmithing done. It could be something along the line that we we the community of Summerland, or it's unacceptable for us. Racism is unacceptable. Like, there's different ways we could wordsmith it, I suppose, but we gotta start somewhere.
Well, even we, the community of Summerland, are standing up against racism.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
We're not quite there yet,
Yeah.
to be anti-racist, but, yeah.
And we may never be.
Would you like to make that a
You may
motion?
never be.
I think it would be a good motion.
Yeah, Councillor Trainer?
That the community of Summerland stands up against racism.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, that was the easy one. Now let's get back to what we have before us in terms of, thank you very much, Councillor Trainer, for bringing that up. Councillor Van Elfen?
Madam Mayor, that we instruct staff to look into some kind of venues, i.e. the library board, the people that coordinate the Philosophers Cafes, and see if we can start with a community conversation.
Little more tricky with this in this time, but we can get started regardless.
And if we could possibly, not in the motion, Madam Mayor, if we could just possibly start something with the sign on just some messages as we become, right now it's all
Pandemic
COVID.
related, yeah.
COVID beware, kind of thing.
Behind
Hug
beware.
your family, hug your family, but like, can we come up with something that's, a little bit positive? Be kind, exactly, be kind.
Well, be kind is on the sign already.
There you go. I haven't driven past the right time, I guess. Be kind to Councillor Holmes.
So Karen, could you read that back, and then we can see if maybe we can get a seconder.
So what I've got is that council directs staff to look into the library board, the Philosophers Cafe, or other local organizations to start a community conversation on racism.
Councillor Holmes, you're seconding, thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Van Elfen.
No, the only other further discussion I have is that, congratulations to the Leckie family. The GoFundMe's at $17,500. Who would you recommend they contact when they close this down? And, should we have them have a discussion with the CEO for,
place to start is to contact our CAO. Great. Councillor Holmes.
I just worry a little bit about the artistic eye of this council.
Oh, no.
And I wouldn't want to really be involved in that. I would really say get a professional artist who the Leckies are comfortable with and can work with and create something really special.
Yeah, I think that's what Councillor Van Alphen meant. Yeah. Yes. And along those lines, I will at the next council meeting. And we actually had a very pleasant social, the Arts Council Board, just this last Friday, I think it was. No, it was Thursday. It was on Thursday. So I'm happy to, as the liaison, to bring the idea of the possibility for the theme for next year's banners. Hopefully we can do that. But it's, that's the decision of the Arts Council. We're just funding that. Okay, so you're good with that? Okay, any other discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Oh, one more.
Just back to Councillor Holmes and the reader board, be kind. Just, remember that. Like, seriously, like I said it at the Leckies, you were there, Councillor Carlson was there. I don't think it's it's not a secret that Councillor Carlson and I probably don't see eye to eye on about 9 out of 10 things. But I know if some tragedy happened at my home, she would be there. And I'd be there for her. And that's what this community's about. I don't have to agree with you. I may not even really like you. No, I didn't mean you. But that's, we're supposed to be there to help each other. And I think sometimes we forget that in our busy lives. I don't care who it is, but if somebody's hurting, we should reach out and try to be there. That's it. Thanks.
The only other thing that I wanted to add is that I want to thank everyone on council, particularly Councillor Van Alphen and Councillor Carlson, for bringing this forward so that we could have this discussion. And this is the absolute best outcome of our decision that I could hope for, is to have these community conversations. People are asking for them, and if we can do that, if we can find a way to do that, and I mean staff, so thank you so much, Council, for that, and for Councillor Van Alphen for leading the discussion. Much appreciated. Okay, so any further discussion?
Just one
Yes.
last thing, just to embarrass her, but Shivali Lucky's the nicest person I've ever met.
Oh, yeah, she's lovely.
And I tease her all the time, like I had difficulty with her name, Shivali.
Okay, so all in favor? Any opposed? Great, that's carried unanimously. According to my agenda, that's the last thing that we had to talk about. So adjourn the meeting, please. Councillor Van Alphen and Councillor Patton, all in favor? Fantastic. Thanks for everyone for coming out for